Hi, quick question for you. Is your background making you blend in or stand out when you're on camera? Now, this is especially important when you're in a live meeting, when you're a speaker at an event, or you're just participating in a live presentation. Do you stand out or do you blend in? My name is Patrick Nairn, and I help coaches and experts to really get to grips with the important questions that they should be asking themselves before they take up a live presentation and step in front of an audience. I help them to get themselves ready so that they both visually stand out, which is quite important if you think about the number of meetings that take place and someone is viewing from the gallery, and it's very difficult to tell who the person is who's leading that presentation. And this is where I help my coaches and experts to really share their authority, because they're seen as the authority, not blending into the background, but standing out completely from the background. And this concept is important, not just when it comes to the visuals, but also in a marketing context, which we'll cover a little bit later in this presentation. So let's start off by thinking about the limits of human vision. This is important because when we're on this tiny screen, sometimes we forget that we're dealing with the limits of human vision, and we don't all have perfect 20/20 vision. And not only is that an issue, but not everybody has their screens sort of profiled or calibrated so that they're showing everything the way that they should. And so we want to maximize our chances that regardless of what equipment someone is watching us from, whether they're watching us maybe in transit and they have no control over the lighting around them so that they're having to fight against maybe daylight or lights shining in or out from different parts of where they're traveling through, or whether someone is in a darkened room and they're adjusting the screen themselves. We want to make sure that we stand out in the right way, because the human vision is based a lot on contrast. And we need that contrast to see everything that's in that scene, which is going to inform us. And everything is going to be a challenge if we're not aware of how we need to help our audience to stand out so that they can see us easily. And when you appear too close in, say, your tones that you're wearing on your body and those behind you, that can make it a real challenge. It causes our audience's brain and eyes to struggle. And that's not really going to help our engagement. And it's not going to do anything for our trust apart from deteriorate the level of trust that we might have been lent by maybe the host or that they already had with us. And we all know that people will leave a conversation if they are struggling to hear. But what many of us don't realize is that people will also turn away if they're struggling to see. Now, that's all about helping us to separate ourselves, the downsides and the upsides, right? Now, I wanted to think a little bit about something that we call the persistence of vision. And this is something that I use from time to time when I'm teaching to show the red ball and the persistence of vision. And what happens is if I hold this red ball against a relatively high contrast background, so like the white background behind me, and I hold this ball up and kind of just shrink the screen around it so we zoom in on just the ball, what happens after a while is your eyes become saturated with that color. Now, what happens is that particular color starts to sit in your rods and cones in the back of your eyeball, and it becomes this persistent view that your eyes are still seeing and holding onto long after that ball is taken away. And that is important for our audience as well, because when we're presenting ourselves online, we want to make sure that we are giving them a chance to maximize and do that in a really good way, not to focus them so tightly that they have the persistence of vision, but also we don't want to push them so hard that their eyes become really tired as they have to struggle to find that contrast. And we end up with two things. One is the visual camouflage, which if you think about the savannas, the great Serengeti savannas where we've got all of these animals that are on the plains, and we notice that some of them are so well camouflaged that you can't see them on the first take. You have to kind of look around a few times before you see them, because what starts to happen is everything looks flat as far as the human eyes are concerned. Nothing sticks out. And that is about blending in. And that's great when you want to hide, but not so great for your audience, not so great for the person who's trying to view. And this can lead to a lot of disengagement from our audience, because we're just making it harder work for them. They have to look so hard to find us, and a lot of people give up. So when our background is too similar in color to what we're wearing or to our own skin tone, that can help us to really blend in. And that's not so great. And I just want you to picture in your mind a person wearing really warm tones, something akin to khaki. If you think back, you'll see people in maybe, again, warmer climates wearing colors like khaki on a beach, and they just blend in. It's almost as if they are non-existent apart from the bits that are not covered in the khaki. It gives us a strange effect. But we don't really want that for our audience. We want to recognize that this impacts our audience on an emotional level as well, because they're feeling like they have to work so much harder in order to see us. That actually really can frustrate and infuriate audiences. So you want to really think about, do you want to stand out or do you want to blend in? Now, the other thing that I want you to be aware of, and this is something which is happening as the internet itself is becoming much more regulated, and that includes everything that we do over the internet, including when we have our meetings and presentations. What we're starting to see at the minute is the shifts that are aligning standards around how things get sent backwards and forwards. But I wouldn't be too surprised if down the line we start to see that the same regulations which affect broadcasters at the moment start to come in to anything that we're doing in live meetings. And this is not just to match broadcast standards, but this is also for our audience when it comes to accessibility standards. We are going to see that there's now a real need for us to meet these standards, to make it easier for people to see us and to hear us, because it's going to be impacting not just what we put on screen, but also what we show and say to our audiences, such as graphics. All of these things are going to be needing to be thought about before we publish them to the internet. So here's the benefit. If you're a person who's getting ahead of the game, then you're going to start to put into your systems, into your structures, into your tools that you use to get online, all of these standards, so that they give you a competitive advantage over the people who are not really thinking about this yet. And that is going to increase your authority when it comes to being online, because you're already focused on the audience and what they need from you in order to enjoy your presentations. Now, listen, this is really not something for you to overly concern yourself with, because there are people like me who are out here to help you, to support you, to help you to get the right standards in place so that you can manage to evolve with the coming expectations. Now, the thing that I mentioned a little bit earlier, which is about separating from the background, is not just something that we need to think of as a technical exercise, but as a marketing tool itself. That when we separate ourselves from our background, we are on the level talking to our audience from the way that we are separating from the different people in the market space that do exactly what we do. Let's face it, there are people who do the same things as whatever anybody else out there does. There are equivalent people doing that. Now, there are differences, of course, in the way that we deliver what we deliver. You'll never quite deliver things the same as I do. There are different personalities. There are different angles we're coming from. We're different ages, different cultures, and so on. But when people struggle to see what the difference is when it comes down to the bottom line, we want to be out there showing our audience that we're separating ourselves both visually and we're aware of who we serve in the marketplace. And this is where the visual spotlight comes down to be on us, to show the audience that we are not just separate in terms of the way that we do the things that we do, but we're separate as a brand position. We're standing out and we're aligning with what we stand for. So here's some things that we can think about. What should really be happening with our background? How do we separate ourselves from our background? Well, we can do this through just lighting, where we light the background differently to the way that we light ourselves. But we can also do that by the color that we choose for the background. And for many people, they say, well, certain colors don't really quite work for me. I don't really like the way that certain colors look. Well, that's okay, because we can always adjust colors. But what I want to encourage you to do is to think about what has worked over the long run. And certain background colors have worked for a long time, ever since the birth of photography, ever since photography morphed into video and video became the standard on the internet. There are certain things that work and certain things that work less well. And I'm going to encourage you to focus your attention on the things that really work and allow you to visually pop when you're on screen in front of your audience. Because if they can see you, they can pay attention to you. And if we can get your skin tones looking right, and if we do not have your skin tones competing with your background, and if we have you lit properly, well, that's going to support things like the trust that they're going to have in you. It's going to support your message and help you to come across as not just credible, but as a person who is thinking about all the things that we don't normally think about. So what is this coming down to? Well, when you're aware of what impacts your audience's vision, you become aware of how to become the easiest to see. When people can see you, they can relate to you. And when you become one of those people who understands that I'm going to get ahead of the curve, so that when these various regulations start to come in to say we've got to manage our audio to a particular level, which is for many of us technical stuff. We don't really want to know exactly how to do all of that. We want someone to help us to do that. Someone who knows what to do so that I don't fall foul of regulations. Someone who understands the lighting so that I don't have to go and figure that all out myself. I can just work with someone. This is what this is all about. Helping our coaches and our experts to not have to worry about this themselves, so that they can actually realize that separating from the background is a good thing. They don't have to experiment with lighting and backgrounds. They can just get the answers so that they can move forward, focusing on their audience and doing the thing that they do best. So this has been a short presentation, but some of this I go into a lot more detail, and I'm going to be doing that in an event coming up soon. It's an event that's going to be on the 18th of August this month. So just over a week's time. And this event is going to be about 3 hours long. It's not just me. There's going to be another speaker there who's going to help you to understand all of the things that we need to think about when we want to be speakers in the live online space. And we are definitely in the live online era, where the ability for us to get in front of an audience has never been easier. But not only has it never been easier, it's never been easier for us to get in front of an audience, and through things that we might not be aware of, to actually lose our space in front of that audience. And I want to help you to take advantage of the abilities to get in front of audiences today and to use it to the best of your ability. So what I'm going to encourage you to do, and I will start to put some information around that, is to register for that event so that you don't miss out. I want you to also think about liking, subscribing and following to get more content, because I've got a lot more to share with you about this. And especially as we build up towards this event, there's a lot more stuff that I would love for you to understand to get you prepared to get the most out of the event, where because it's live, you get to ask me questions and you get to ask the other speaker questions. You also get to network. So look forward to that. I am so glad that you have had a chance to invest some time watching this event with me. And I look forward to seeing you at the event. But until then, I leave you with peace. See you soon.